Hey everyone, so I'm making this video. It's a review for Module 18 quiz. Only Module 18 quiz. The module test review I wasn't able to make because I don't have a copy of Module 16, 17, 18 review. So I will work on that tomorrow, Thursday. We talked about these questions in class. So we said tangent is opposite over adjacent. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So all of these are talking about angle D. So opposite of angle D is 7. The hypotenuse is across the right angle, which is 8.1, which means that the adjacent side has to be side DE. So now I can easily write tangent of angle D equal to the ratio of opposite over adjacent. Opposite is 7, adjacent is 4. So I'm done with 1. Number 2, you're finding sine of angle D, and this is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite is 7, hypotenuse is 8.1. And last, cosine of angle D is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is 4, the hypotenuse side is 8.1. If they were asking you to find angles, that's when you would use the inverse functions. But because they're not asking us to find the measurements of angles, you don't have to use them. Question 4. They're asking you to find the sine value of the complementary angle. Well, complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90. So if you have one angle that measures 42 degrees, how can you find the other angle that will make it a complementary angle? Well, that's 90 minus 42. And if you subtract correctly, you get 48. So this is calculator work. You're now typing in sine of 48, and you get your solution. I gave you guys the answer in class. I don't have my calculator with me, so figure it out. Number 5, what is LK rounded to the nearest hundredth? So LK is going to be the variable we're looking for. Opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. That's the order I label my sides. So the opposite side is x, the hypotenuse is 8.5, and the adjacent side, I don't know. So I cannot use two trig functions because they have the adjacent value. The two that I can't use are cosine and tangent because you need the adjacent value. So that means I'm going to use sine. So sine of the angle, which is 20, is equal to the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. The opposite side is x, and the hypotenuse is 8.5. To solve for x, you would have to multiply both sides of your equation by 8.5 since it's being divided by 8.5. And now from here, it's calculator work. I gave you the answer in class. Number 6. So now you're looking for the other side. So I'm going to erase A and O because I already know what my opposite side is. We found it, right? So I don't care about LK no more. But I want to find JK, so I'm going to label him Y. So LK is still my opposite side. 8.5 is still the hypotenuse, so Y is now my adjacent side. So I'm going to use a trig function that has A and H. That means cosine. So cosine of the angle is equal to the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. Well, in order to solve for y, I need to get rid of 8.5. This is being divided by 8.5. So I'm going to use division property of equality, and I'm going to multiply both sides by 8.5 so that I'm able to find the y value. So this is calculator work, and whatever that gives you would give you the length of JK. Number 7, since we're being asked to find the measurement of an angle, that's already telling me that I have to use one of the trig functions is inverse. So which one? I don't know yet. They want us to find angle M. So opposite side is side ON. The hypotenuse is 11, side OM. And the adjacent side we have no information on. So I need to use the trig function that has OH. Who has OH? Sine. So sine of the angle that I'm finding is angle M is equal to O opposite divided by the hypotenuse, 11. I'm going to multiply both sides by the inverse function of sine because that's what I want to get rid of. So sine inverse and sine cancel each other out. So now I have angle M is equal to sine inverse of 5/11. So this is now calculator work, and whatever that gives you would be the angle of the measurement of angle M. Now, in order to find angle O, I have to know angle M. So angle M, so I don't have my calculator, so I don't know the measurement of the angle. So whatever you get, you're going to add up with angle N, which is 90 degrees. You know that the sum of angle N, O, and M has to add up to 180. So in order to find angle M, you're going to subtract the difference of angle N and M. So angle M, you're finding, angle N is 90. Subtract it from 180, and that'll give you the measurement of angle O. Number 9, what are the missing side lengths? This is a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle. So this is an equilateral, an isosceles triangle. So it goes x, x, x squared to 2. Well, they give you the value of the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse has to equal 12. I have to solve for x by dividing both sides of my equation by the square root of 2. And if you simplify this correctly, you're going to end up getting 6 square root of 2, which is your x, which means this side is going to measure 6 square root of 2, and so is the other side. So this side is 6 square root of 2, and this side is 6 square root of 2. 30, 60, 90 triangle. The side across the 30-degree angle is called your short side. Across the 60-degree angle is called your long side, and across the right angle is called the hypotenuse. They don't give us the hypotenuse, they don't give us the long leg, but they sure give us the short leg. So the short leg is what our x value is, because it's across the 30-degree angle, so 8 square root of 3. So in order to find the long leg, the side across the 60-degree angle, all I have to do is substitute 8 square root of 3 into x. And in order to find the 90-degree corresponding side, which is the hypotenuse, all I have to do is again take my x value and substitute it in for x. So for 60 degrees, it'll be my x value times the square root of 3 that I already had part of my formula. So if you solve that correctly, you should get 24. So the long side will be 24. And once you substitute your x value in to find the hypotenuse, the x value is 8 square root of 3. Simplified gives you 16 square root of 3. So the hypotenuse is 16 square root of 3. The long leg is 24, and the short leg is given 8 square root of 3. State whether the following are Pythagorean triples. All you're doing is checking if a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Is the sum of 6 squared and 8 squared equal to 10 squared? The answer is yes, because they end up equaling one another. Is 14 squared plus 48 squared equal to 50 squared? The answer is yes. And the last one is 25 squared plus 25 squared equal to 100 squared? The answer is no. So this one I believe is 625 plus 625 equal to 10,000. 625 plus 625 is 1250. Is 1250 the same as 10,000? No. So you're just checking Pythagorean theorem. What is the area? This is from 18.4. So these are the ones that have 1/2 AB sine C. If you don't know little c, 1/2 AC sine B if you don't know little b, and 1/2 BC sine A if you don't know the little a. Well, they didn't use A, B, and C, so I'm going to rename my triangle A, B, and C. A corresponds to V. W corresponds to B. and C corresponds to X. So little b will be side AC, little c will be 4.1, and little a will be 7.2. I don't know little b, so since I don't know little b, I have to use 1/2 times little a times little c times sine of angle B. Well, angle B measures 47 degrees. This is now all calculator work. Number 13, we're going to solve the lengths of all the sides and the angle measure. So since I don't know DF, I can use Pythagorean theorem to find it. So my hypotenuse has to be my C value. So 5.83 has to be my C value. A doesn't matter. B is 5 because that's the other leg length. 5 squared is 25. 5.83 squared is equal to 33.99. And when you're trying to solve for your B value, you're going to subtract 25 from both sides of your equation, and you get A squared is equal to 8.99. For easy math, I'm just going to say it's 9. So when you take the square root of A, you're going to get approximately 3. Now I have to find the measurements of my angles. So now I have to use trig. So sine, cosine, or tangent. Sine, cosine, tangent. Well, let's find angle F first. His opposite side measures 5. The hypotenuse measures h, and the adjacent side measures 3. I'm going to use sine, but I can use any one I want. So sine of angle F is equal to O over H. O over H. So now to get rid of sine, I have to multiply by the inverse function. That'll give me angle F and then your value. I gave it to you during class. Now that you have angle F, you can easily find angle E by adding the angle F that you just found plus angle D, which is 90 degrees, and then subtracting it from 180. So find angle F. D is 90 degrees because they tell us it's 90 degrees. And whatever you get, subtract it from 180. That'll give you the measurement of the last angle. 14, find the side lengths. Bam, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom is 8. Use Pythagorean theorem to find this side. This is your hypotenuse, so he's your C value. So 4 squared plus 8 squared is equal to C squared. 16 plus 64 is equal to 80. And when you take the square root of both sides, 80 is the same as 4 times 4 times 5, which is the same as 16 times 5. So when I take the square root of 16 and 5, I get 4 square root of 5. So this is 4 square root of 5. Now I have to use sine, cosine, or tangent to find the angles. So I'm going to use angle A. This is opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. I'm going to use tangent of angle A, but you can use any function because you have all the sides. Equals opposite over adjacent. Opposite is O over adjacent. Well, 8/4 is equal to 2, so I'm just going to rewrite it as 2. To find angle A, I have to get rid of tangent, so I have to use the inverse function of tangent. So using a calculator, you're going to find the inverse tangent of 2. Whatever you get is the measurement of angle A. To find angle C, you're going to add angle A that you found plus angle B, and their sum you're going to subtract from 180. And that'll give you the measurement of angle C. Given that cosine theta is equal to negative 0.574, find the approximate value of sine. That means that I need to use a formula that says sine theta equals plus or minus 1 minus cosine squared theta. Since I know the cosine value, I'm going to replace cosine with negative 0.574. So sine theta is equal to plus or minus 1 minus cosine squared theta. Well, cosine squared is negative 0.574. Type in this part into your calculator and you will get your answer for sine theta. This time they give you sine theta, but they want you to find cosine theta. So the formula for cosine theta is plus or minus the square root of 1 minus sine squared theta. Well, since I know what sine theta is, I'm going to substitute it. So cosine theta is equal to plus or minus 1 minus sine squared theta. Well, sine is 0.996. Type this into your calculator and you will get cosine theta equals plus or minus whatever you get. This one is now tangent. This one's tricky. Okay, this one's the trickiest one. This one's the one where you need to know sine theta is equal to cosine times tan theta. And you need to know the other identity, sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta is equal to 1. So first, I'm going to use equation 1. So sine theta is equal to cosine theta times tan theta. So I forgot a theta sign. Well, I know what tangent is, so I'm going to plug tangent in for tangent. So now I get sine theta equals cosine theta times 0.364. Think of cosine theta as an x. If you had x times 0.364, it would just be 0.364 times x. Well, it's not x. This is cosine theta, so I'm just going to write it back here. Bring down the sine theta. Now I know what sine theta equals. It equals 0.364 cosine theta. So I'm going to use equation 2. And I'm going to replace sine squared theta with what sine is. So since this is sine theta equals, I'm going to replace the sine squared. So sine is 0.364 cosine theta. Bring down plus cosine squared theta is equal to 1. 0.364 cosine theta quantity squared just means you have to square both of these. So cosine has to be squared, but 0.364 squared means 0.364 times 0.364. If you square it, you end up getting 0.132. Now I'm going to write the rest of it. Plus cosine squared theta equal to 1. Well, in Math 1, we learned that if you have two values that have the same units, these are called like terms. So now I'm going to combine like terms. An invisible 1 plus 0.132 added up is 1.132. Rewrite what they have in common. Cosine squared theta. 1.132 cosine squared theta means to multiply. So the opposite is to divide. So if I divide 1 by 1.132, I end up getting 0.88. Now to get rid of the square, I need to do the inverse, which is to take the square root. So now I get cosine theta is equal to 0.94 if you round, 0.938. So I rounded. Now this question is also asking us to find sine theta. So since I know cosine theta, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to substitute 0.94 in for cosine. So now I have sine theta is equal to cosine theta is 0.94 times this value here, 0.364. So now I get sine theta equals 0.60. So I forgot to do this part in class, but here you come back, you found cosine, so you come back, substitute it into the equation or even the original, but since you already have tan and we found cosine, you replace both of these to find sine. Alright guys, make sure you study and come prepared with any last minute questions for tomorrow. I'm going to go over any questions 5 to 10 minutes. Alright, bye.